My boyfriend did a fake proposal and told me it was a prank after I had announced it to my whole family, so I broke up with him. Hey everyone, I need to share this wild experience I went through recently. Buckle up, because it's a roller coaster. So, for the past 6 years, I, 28F, had been dating this guy, Mark, 30M. We met in college and hit it off immediately. We shared a lot of common interests, from our love for hiking to binge-watching terrible reality TV shows. Our relationship was pretty solid, but there was always this unspoken question lurking in the background. When would we take the next step? I had always hoped that a proposal would come eventually, but it just never seemed to happen. After 6 years, I started to feel the pressure. My family was constantly asking when I was getting engaged, and my friends were starting to get married left and right. It felt like everyone was moving forward while I was stuck in neutral. So, I decided to take matters into my own hands and had a heart-to-heart with Mark about our future. He reassured me that he loved me and wanted to be with me, but he was just not ready yet. I tried to be understanding, but I couldn't shake the feeling of disappointment. Fast forward a few months, and I decided to take a leap of faith. I posted on Facebook about how excited I was to announce my engagement. I even tagged Mark in the post, thinking it would encourage him to finally step up. I could just picture the reactions. My mom crying happy tears, my friends congratulating us, and everyone buzzing with excitement. I was ready to share my happiness with the world. The very next day, Mark came over to my place for dinner. I had set the table with candles and flowers, trying to create a romantic atmosphere. After we finished eating, I was feeling all warm and fuzzy, thinking about how soon we'd be planning our wedding. That's when Mark pulled out a small box from his pocket. My heart raced. I thought, this is it. He's finally doing it. As I opened the box, I was met with a cheap plastic ring. My heart sank as he burst out laughing, saying it was all a joke. I can't believe you thought I was actually proposing. Come on. Babe, you know I'm not ready for that. I was stunned. My mind raced, processing what had just happened. I felt a mix of anger, embarrassment, and betrayal. I had just told my entire family and posted on social media that I was engaged. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I forced a smile, trying to play it cool, but inside, I was crumbling. I took a deep breath and said, "You know what? This isn't funny. I can't believe you would do this to me." I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes, but I held them back. I didn't want him to see how much he had hurt me. Mark, realizing I wasn't laughing, tried to backtrack, saying it was just a prank and that I was overreacting. But in that moment, I knew I had to stand up for myself. I told him that I was done, that I couldn't be with someone who would play with my emotions like that. I kicked him out of my apartment, and as he left, I felt a strange sense of relief wash over me. After he left, I posted an update on Facebook, explaining that the engagement post was a mistake and that I was no longer with Mark. I was flooded with messages of support from friends and family, and it felt good to know I wasn't alone. My mom called me, and we had a long talk about what had happened. She reminded me that I deserved someone who respected and cherished me, and I couldn't agree more. In the following weeks, I focused on myself. I spent time with friends, picked up a new hobby, and even treated myself to a little self-care. I realized that I didn't need a ring to validate my worth. I was strong, independent, and capable of finding happiness on my own. As the months went by, I started to feel like myself again. I even joined a local hiking group to meet new people, and I met someone who shared my love for the outdoors. We hit it off, and it felt refreshing to be with someone who respected me from the get-go. I'm still not engaged, but I'm in a much healthier relationship now. I learned that I deserve someone who will lift me up rather than tear me down for a laugh. Mark's little prank ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. I got the last laugh in the end. So, to anyone out there who feels stuck in a relationship or is dealing with a partner who doesn't respect them, please remember, you deserve better. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and take the leap into something new. Life is too short for jokes that hurt. Thanks for reading my story. On to the next story. I think my boyfriend is controlling after he called me over 200 times during a family birthday dinner. Any advice if I should run? I, 23F, don't really know what to say or how to react to this behavior. I have been in abusive relationships previously, and I really thought this is different, but maybe not so much. My boyfriend, 24M, Mike, is really clingy, which I'm okay with usually. However, lately, it's turned into obsessive behavior. It was my little brother's Ryan 18th birthday 2 days ago, and I had planned to spend the day with him while my boyfriend is at work, and then we were all going out for dinner. Mike ended up not going into work, and when I started collecting my things to go, he was confused. I had already told him the day before I'm going to spend the day with Ryan, and he didn't have a problem with it, but I guess because he didn't go to work, he expected me to cancel my plans also. I said that I'm going to get to see him for dinner anyway, and that he thought I'd spend the day at home with him. He's a chronic gamer and forgets I exist hours for hours on end anyway. I told him no, I'm spending time with Ryan like we had planned, and that I don't want to bail on him like everybody else does. Mike got really upset and said he's having a bad day and needs me, but I left anyway. He does that every time I want to spend time with my family, so I didn't buy into it, and like I said, I wasn't gonna let my brother down again, especially when lately I've been avoiding all my family to keep Mike happy, despite the fact Ryan and I are like best friends, and it hurts him a lot when I ditch him. Fast forward a few hours and Ryan asks if Mike is coming to dinner. I say I'm not sure because he's not feeling well, and he even took work off because he's sick. It's a lie. Mike actually said when I was leaving that he doesn't want to come to dinner now because I'm leaving him. So Ryan calls Mike and jokingly says that he doesn't have a choice, he wants him there, and Mike happily agrees to come. After the phone call, I message Mike to double check he does actually want to come now, because if he's coming we got to pick him up. He replies with a to my question, so I say yes or no, and he once again says so I crack and say, fine, I told Ryan you're sick so you don't have to come if you don't want to. Right as we're leaving to go to the restaurant, Mike calls me, and we start to argue about him going, because apparently he was waiting to be picked up. I explained to him that, since he didn't say yes, I took it as a no and all he had to do was not be petty, but it's too late now. My parents were waiting for me and I was holding them up, so I struggled, but finally managed to get off the phone. Right before I did though, he threatened to unalive himself and hung up on me. Then, he doesn't stop calling me back. The last few months, whenever I'm home, he spams me and gets mad at how I don't reply fast enough and don't answer his every phone call, so my mom asked me to turn my phone off if he's going to harass me during dinner. I know he'll keep calling, and the drama will ruin everyone else's night, so I turn my phone off and leave it off the entire time we were at the restaurant. It hurt me so much, but I wasn't going to let him harass me and take valuable time away from me, especially something that's this important. When I get home, 1.5 hours later, I turn my phone on, and immediately it's ringing, so I answer. He said he'll organize my things and I can pick up my stuff because we're over, since I turned my phone off on him when I know he wasn't doing okay. I said fine because emotionally I'm checked out and don't care anymore. But he didn't actually want to break up, so then we start fighting instead, and I crack again. It's my first time yelling at him ever. I say I was with my family, not out clubbing, and I'm not ditching my brother on his 18th birthday just because he's sad. I'm frustrated because I spend every waking minute with him, and he only gets upset when I want to spend time with my family. He kept telling me he'll pick me up in half an hour, and I have until then to hang out with Ryan. After almost an hour-long argument, I say I'll call him when my parents go to bed and finally hang up on him. He's hung up on me and called back immediately a few times at this point, so I'm finally done, and I leave my phone in my room and go outside where everyone is having some drinks to celebrate. During this, he also called an Uber to pick me up without my consent. I told him to cancel because we can't afford to waste the money, but he refused to cancel it. I didn't get in. About an hour later, when Ryan and Mom have gone to drop his maid off, I answer Mike's call. Yes, he was still calling the whole time, and say now I'm ready to leave and I'll come back, but I want to say goodbye to Ryan first rather than leave when he's not back. Mike agrees and actually lets me go. I'm absolutely stumped at how many missed calls and messages I have. When my brother gets back, he asks to talk for a bit before I go since I haven't spent any time with him in weeks, so I agree, and accidentally 2 hours go by, and I finally realize the time and got an Uber back to my boyfriend's house. When I get there, he's crying about how I played mind games and played with his feelings by saying I was coming back and then not for another 2 hours. I also find out he took his mom's car to go pick me up after he had been drinking, but he decided not to once he was at the front of my house. I don't know what to do. He called me over 200 times over 5 hours and threatened to unalive himself because I wouldn't come back to him when this was my first night I spent with my family in ages. I feel like he's controlling and emotionally abusive, and my family has gone from loving him to wanting me to leave him, all because of how possessive he is. Some help would be really appreciated. What did you think of these stories? Let me know your thoughts about them in the comments, and thanks for listening.